Hello, hello. It is day 3 of my 10-day vlog challenge, and I am back today to talk about something a little bit more serious. Hopefully it's not going to be too much, but I just want to put a fair warning. You do not like listening to stories about trauma, mental health, that kind of thing. This may not be the best video for you, but I definitely wanted to share this because I do think that it's really important and hopefully it can help you. I guess we'll start. So the topic for today is surviving trauma. I have been, unfortunately, through quite a bit of trauma, mostly in my young adult life. Grew up in a very, very sheltered bubble-like community, and I didn't really suffer much trauma as a young kid. Not that I guess I was aware of. I suffered through trauma that was not the type of direct trauma that I think a lot of us think about when we imagine this, like, being abused physically, mentally by an alcoholic parent or something like that. That is not what I experienced, and I'm very lucky in that I didn't experience that. But I am adopted. I've known my entire life. My parents were really open with me about it. They always let me know that I have a different birth mother. My sister does as well. She's not my biological sister, but my parents adopted 2 kids. They were not able to have kids of their own, so they adopted me and my sister. And so I was raised by the most wonderful people. I mean, they are literally like actual saints as human beings. I've never met people like them before that are so generous, so loving, so forgiving. It's like almost like unfair, sometimes I pray now as an adult, and I ask, like, my creator, God, whoever, how in the world I possibly got this life, because I feel extremely lucky now. So I didn't feel as lucky when I was younger. When I was 12 years old, playing soccer, I suffered a bad knee injury. I've talked about this in my really old videos, how I had 2 knee surgeries, one in 2010 and then the second in 2012, and both were fairly serious. It was ACL, meniscus type of thing. That was probably the first major trauma that I went through, and that trauma kind of sustained over time. I didn't, unfortunately, have the best doctors. They didn't really give me the best advice. So I probably should have just ended up getting surgery when I was like 14, but I didn't do that. 12, when I originally heard it, I was way too young still for surgery. So I do understand why I had to wait a little bit. But instead of, getting it fixed in high school, I was way too scared, and I didn't want to like have to wait, which is like so ironic and hilarious now looking at it as a near 30-year-old person with a still injured knee. Like, if I had just taken 6 months back in high school and forfeited a little bit of my running career, then I could probably still be running now. But hindsight is 2020. I ended up running really, really competitive track and cross country in high school, and I ended up actually on the cross country team at UC Irvine. It's a Division I school. I walked on. I had really amazing times. My times were only getting better, but unfortunately, my knee injury got so bad to the point that I literally, it was my knee on the day that I had to stop running. The physical rehab department at UCI was like, you literally cannot run anymore and you cannot walk. They forced me to start using crutches, and I think I even had like a wheelchair at the dorms. So I ended up turning to drinking and partying and drugs and all that stuff. Not drugs right away, actually. It was just really drinking a lot during my like freshman year. And I don't think I realized just how much I was filling the void of my insecurities with drinking at that time. I was only 18. I was also like really sexually promiscuous at this time in my life. Again, I kind of want to warn that I will be talking about traumatic events, like sexually traumatic events, starting now. So I didn't really respect myself at age 19. I kind of hated myself because I had to give up something that was so important to me. Running was like my whole entire life. And this is why they say don't put all your eggs into one basket. No matter what age you are, don't put all your eggs into any single basket in life, because if you do that, you're going to have nothing. I just went down a bad path, and I was sleeping around. I slept with, I can't even tell you how many people. It was really bad, really gross. Not to like slut shame or anything like that, but it was just like the type of behavior that I was doing was really self-destructive and very dangerous. I was assaulted, harassed, raped, taken advantage of probably too many times to count. And it was just all because of just lack of self-worth and not knowing who I was. I didn't really tie much of this to my adoption at that point, but I was suffering from a massive identity crisis. Basically, from the time I had to quit cross country up until the time that I basically had a mental breakdown like a year and a half ago. The trauma that I went through when I was in college was mostly sexual trauma. Again, because I was just drinking way too much, partying way too much, just living my life like a reckless person. Being in such a bubble kept me so constrained that when I got into the real world, I was just like, and I did whatever I want. So this really confused, uncertain part of myself that I just didn't know. I just didn't know who I was, and I didn't know where some of these things were coming from inside of me. And the whole ecosystem that was built around me was of rationality, seriousness, definition, clear-cut definitions, science, that kind of stuff. But who I am inside is like a cosmic, mystical person. I am like one and the same as the cosmos, and I can feel the energy of creation running through my soul all the time. And I am just now, within the last few months, really getting in tune with that cosmic energy and with that spirituality. And I'm not letting any of that outside noise really dictate that. I just really encourage anybody that has been through trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma, to look within instead of looking outside. I think that that's something that I did for such a long time, was constantly looking for the answers on the outside. And as much as I kept doing that, things just kept getting worse in my life. Within the last 5 years, I've been in 4 car accidents. I've been fired from 2 jobs. I have been a victim of sexual assault multiple times, rape 1 time. And it just seems like I've had my car broken into 3 or 4 times. I've had my wallet stolen probably 3 or 4 times. I've been through like a lot of shit that people don't want to go through, but it's because of this really heavy disconnect with my internal self. And it's almost like these things were happening to me because I needed to be tested and checked. And every time that something happened, the way that I reacted was not the right response. And thus it triggered another negative instance. And I was like stuck in this insanity loop that was just bringing more and more negative energy to me. And it was only until I stopped myself and forced myself to realize this was happening, and I had to actively change my behavior. I had to stop drinking, completely rehaul my diet, change my sleeping and eating habits. I got fired from my job about a month ago, and if I could think about it now, I would have quit my job as a part of this process, because my job that I was working was extremely toxic, and it's like a blessing in disguise that I was fired from it. But all of this stuff had to happen to get me through to where I am right now, being sober, being present, meditating every single day, being in my spirituality, finding myself again, and realizing that this is who I am. And I went through everything that I went through to be here now telling you this story, sharing and being able to open myself so that I can hold space for people that are going through what I've been through. Trauma is extremely difficult to survive, and diminishing the trauma that anybody goes through ever is one of the most destructive things that has ever happened to me, and that I think anybody could ever do. And that's something that I had to deal with a lot in my life, but it was more so imposed by me than by people from the outside. Like, a lot of times, the way that my parents and friends would respond to me being a really, really, really emotional person would be to say, like, lighten up, stop being so serious, just take life, just don't take life so serious, just chill. But when you're taught, but when you have an actual anxiety disorder and you say that to somebody, it's like you're taking their entire existence, shoving it into a little tiny ball and throwing it in their face. And it was extremely hard for me to swallow that over and over and over and over again from every single person that I encountered. Every single person that I encountered would tell me, like, just chill, just stop being so serious, you need to just relax. And it was like, when I was in the worst of my anxiety, hearing that was like the biggest slap in my face. And that's why now looking back, I realized just how much I needed serious professional help. It was like my brain was rotting and I didn't have any sort of medicine or anything to help the infection from getting worse. So if you are suffering from that internal dialogue and you're easily angered, short to respond, overly emotional, empathic, you seem to just absorb emotions from people around you, I'm not pushing anything onto anybody, but going into therapy and getting the psychiatric help that I needed was the most transformative thing that I have ever done and will ever do. And I could not imagine my life now without my antidepressants and the structure that I've built around myself with my therapist. I have a life coach, I have a business mentor, I have my family that I really can lean on now and that have been through this process with me. I have a lot of good friends, I have a community, I have addiction support groups. I go to addiction. I'm actually going right after I film this to it's called Life Ring. It's a secular recovery program, as well as I go to Refuge Recovery, which is a Buddhist-based, meditation-based addiction recovery group. Just choosing this life of sobriety, of clarity, of recovery has empowered me so much. Something that I now realize is my purpose in life. I had to go through everything that I went through. I had to be an alcoholic, a drug addict, a sex addict. I had to be an addict to everything that I was addicted to in order to get to the point that I am at now of realizing that the addiction and the anxiety that exists inside of me is something that I can control, but I have to choose to have that control of it every single day. And I'm just so glad to be where I am at now, in a place of guidance and support, and really being able to understand and hold space again, like I said earlier, for those that are going through it. So I think I did a pretty good job of not going into too much specific detail about the traumas that I've been through. If you guys want to know more, I would love to like open up conversations and hold space. So please feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email in the description box below, and I'll put it right here for you guys so that you can reach out to me. I really do want to help people that are going through this, and I really hope that this resonated with somebody. But tomorrow I'm gonna pivot again back to something a little bit more positive, and I'm going to talk about my healing process and my meditation, and just how much that has helped me in surviving trauma and getting through the darkest of my days. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it wasn't too much, but I also am not apologizing. I'm beyond that in my life. My tattoo here is a sun and moon. It's to signify the darkness within me is sleeping while the lightness can now shine bright. So I know you guys haven't seen this one yet. That is all. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.